What's up, everybody? This is Miles Turner, the Indiana Pacers. You're listening to the Paceroos Podcast. Be sure to follow @Paceroos on Twitter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paceroos Podcast, the only Australian NBA podcast with a bias towards the Indiana Pacers. Adam, Alex, and Justin with you again today, fresh off a tough loss against Philadelphia. But that's not the thing that we're going to talk about first. You may have seen on Twitter sort of more recent happenings over the last 24 hours that post the Philadelphia game, the guy that you just heard on our intro, Miles Turner, has either deactivated or had his Twitter deactivated. Similar scenes on Instagram where his Instagram appears to be deactivated as well. So we talked about on the last episode that TJ Leaf had shut down his Instagram. We talked about the pressure on NBA players. And Alex, I'll lead off with you. It seems like the negative feedback or the real sort of bashing that Miles has experienced over the last few weeks and probably the last month at least. If it is a case that he, deactivated his Twitter and Instagram of his own doing, which we still don't know whether he was hacked or anything like that, but the fact that it's both platforms suggests that he made the choice to do it. It just drives home how much that sort of feedback and sort of hate can really get to a player and affect them, which is not really good to see.
I think a lot of people seem to forget that these guys they're not, we are witnessing them as a product, right? They're put out as a product for us to watch, but they are human beings at the end of the day. I mean, these guys are just like us. They have emotions. They see this stuff on Twitter. Miles is active on both Insta and Twitter. I see him on there all the time. I'm not sure how much he sees. I'm sure he sees some of it, probably not all of it. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the last month or so, it has been a bit ridiculous. I've tweeted out a few things. I remember I tweeted something a few days ago about his usage rate, and I reckon I got about 30 replies from people just absolutely talking shit. So, I mean, yeah, I could go on all day about it. I think that there's a contingent of Pacers fans that for some reason just absolutely hate him or have something against him. I really don't know why. I think, he's clearly one of the most hardworking guys on the team. He loves the Pacers from what I've heard and from what he said. He loves Indiana. He has his own fan section as well, which makes this even worse. The fact that the fan base is turning on him. And yeah, he is the most hated Pacer right now, which is absolutely bizarre for me for how talented he is. I don't know what you guys think, but I think we're all in agreement there that it is a bit bizarre that he's as hated as he is.
I've got to get to some facts, right? Like we see these keyboard warriors on Twitter saying he should be traded, saying this, that, and the other. They're really, really strongly against Miles. But let's talk about some facts. Fact number one: this guy, we're biased, right? He did our intro. Like we asked him through his representation if he would contribute to our podcast, and to his credit, he did so. 3 random guys from Australia started the Pacers podcast, and lo and behold, the starting center for the team does the intro. So we're not going to pretend to be unbiased. We're biased towards every Indiana Pacers player, as well we should be. We're fans. 100%. That's what we should do. Number two, he has assumed a leadership role in this team. He does the media. He's out there. He's out there after every game. He did that interview with Pat Boylan the other day where he sort of sounded like he'd rather be anywhere else and didn't really seem to be in a good headspace. And that was something that I tweeted at Pat. And obviously Pat probably kept that in-house and didn't want to address Miles's mood in that interview. But he's assumed the leadership role for better or for worse. He's chosen that role, and he's sort of been chosen as one of the captains of the team. And he's out there sort of spruiking the Pacers brand. He led the league in blocks. Like he's not a scrub. He's not a bad basketball player. He's an elite defensive player who's developing offensively and has shown flashes of being a really great offensive player. And he's 23. That's the other thing. Like he's not a 30-year-old struggling. He's still a young man.
He's still 3 or 4 years away from his prime.
I
think that's what people forget as well.
Yeah. So, the thing that frustrates me about all this is that this guy is doing everything he can for this team. He's out there in the media. He's on the court. He's leading defensively. As he said in that interview with Pat the other day, he sacrifices shots. You can see that he sacrifices his place in the team offensively because he wants to get the other guys involved, and they are involved, and it is working. So, he's justified in doing that. And, he doesn't say boo. He doesn't complain. He's not one of those guys that goes out to the media and complains about it. He just does his job. He does it professionally. He does it well. And he still cops, an unfair amount of criticism, in my view, from portions of the fan base. And Justin, we've seen this before from the Pacers fan base. As I said on Twitter, the Pacers fan base is great. Pacers Twitter is great, except when it's not. And sometimes it's not. And today, in the last few weeks, when it comes to Miles Turner, is one of those times where it's not been great.
Yeah, and you probably haven't actually heard me speak yet because I've been biting my tongue all day. And yeah, you are correct. 95% of Pacer fans are fantastic. There's 5% currently, which I think are hurting the reputation of all the great fans we do have. And yeah, from my point of view, I agree with everything you said, Alex and Adam. Like, he was pick 11 in the draft. I wouldn't want to know what people would be saying if he was a number one pick. Like, if Pacers got an Anthony Bennett or like a Greg Oden, what would be happening then? I actually don't know what people expect of Miles. He got 17.6 rebounds, 4 blocks against Atlanta, hit a key 3-pointer. Which swung the momentum of the game, and some people were still not happy. And I went back and forth with someone, and I essentially got to the point where you can't change someone's mind if they're fixated on hating a player. You're kind of banging your head against a brick wall trying to change their mind. So, it is very upsetting. Like, I know, Alex, you did mention a few days ago, other players have had this issue as well. Kevin Love's come out. DeMar DeRozan's done what Miles Turner's done. He, deleted all his posts and closed his accounts. And it does affect people in different ways. Like, not everyone can just put up a blank wall and just cop criticism their whole life. Like, you imagine going to work yourself and you get home and search your name online and people are just grilling you for how you perform that day at work. Like,
not everyone is fueled by the haters.
Yeah, like, these guys get an insane amount of money. So obviously they do understand they're going to be criticized. But I just don't know where this Miles hate's come from. And Alex, when you mentioned Miles is the most hated Pacer right now, I literally just shook my head. And I can't believe we've kind of got
it doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And I'll quickly just tell a story about Roy Hibbert. Obviously, I've flown to Indiana. I was part of Roy Hibbert's fan section, as probably most of our listeners know. And there was a time, as if you've been a Pacer fan for the last 5-6 years, where Roy Hibbert went through some struggles, and he went through a tough time playing, and he got absolutely slaughtered by some of the fan base. And it made me feel sick to my stomach that Roy was actually paying for tickets for fans to go watch the Pacers, and some people in the fan section were absolutely killing him online. And I just thought, where do you actually get off? Where is your moral compass that you've got an NBA player buying you tickets, he's taking you to the movies, he's going laser tagging with you, and then you're out absolutely grilling him when he plays poorly? And yeah, for me, that's just totally changed my kind of outlook on fans, not Pacer fans in general, but just fans of all sport and how these athletes, how they actually get through it. It's very upsetting.
I get being frustrated. I get being, upset at a loss or upset at a team's performance or a player's performance. We've all been there, right? We've all had a loss or lost a series or, lost a playoff game, and we've looked at it and gone, we needed more from that particular player, or I expected to get a better game out of that particular player. And every single player in the league has had an off game or an off week or an off month. We started the season with Aaron Holiday. He was 1 for 12 through his first 3 games, those 3 losses that we had when everyone was telling Pacers Twitter that Nate McMillan should be fired. Where are those people now? But, to go online and to devote hours of your life to attacking an individual player and replying to tweets from journalists, from podcasters, from, sources around the NBA with memes about that player and negative posts about a player. how much free time do you have, and how bad is the rest of your day that is going to be something that you put a lot of time into? That's something that I will never ever understand. And Alex, as you said, you got a bunch of replies to posts that you made, you know, that were slagging off Miles, and that's something like to devote that amount of time into something so negative rather than focusing on something more positive just says more about the individual that's focused on that activity than it does about the person that they're slagging off.
I mean, there are actual accounts on like that are part of Pace's Twitter. You can scroll through, and Justin, I remember you sent us a message just before the show. You know, you can scroll through these guys' last week of tweets, and I guarantee you 80 to 85% of them will be about Miles Turner or have Turner's name mentioned in them. They will be replying, like you said, to journalists. Tony East has had a bunch of replies when he tweeted out about Miles deleting his Instagram. People calling him soft. One guy actually brought up him being a homosexual. I mean, it just actually makes me enraged. It baffles me. I don't understand why a player that gives back to the community like Miles does and is as nice as Miles is hated as much as he has been.
Look at his charity work. Like his charity work in Indianapolis. Like he provides, you know, food and clothing for the homeless. Like, and you're going to go online after a bad game and bag this guy out and you know, say some slanderous, baseless stuff about an individual. Like what sort of life do you have to lead where you think that this is a good idea and this brings you joy? Like it really grinds my gears to a massive degree. And, you know, I just hope that in the fact of deleting Twitter and Instagram, that Miles Turner and whomever else is affected by this, we said that, you know, TJ Leaf deleted his Instagram, so it may be, you know, that he's affected by this too. Number one, they know
Brogdon's was deactivated.
Yep, Brogdon's
Malcolm Brogdon had his deactivated for a long time.
He's only recently come back to Instagram, and that's mostly to promote his charity work, where he's, you know, going to, I believe it's Africa, and providing clean water. And, you know, I just hope that these players don't lose sight of the amount of support they have, because in deactivating their Twitter and deactivating their Instagram, they not only then stop seeing all the hate, or that's the cause of it, but they also stop seeing all the love as well. So, you know, you want to be able to positively reinforce, you know, these guys and say you are appreciated. Like, we're fans of this team. We want to see this team do well for, you know, regardless.
We want to see all the players do well as well.
We want to see every single player on the roster do extremely well. And for anyone to think any differently, like, you're not a real fan. Sorry. Like, if you're looking at a side and you want to see a player do poorly on your team, then you're not a true fan of that team. You
know what, Adam? These are the fans that if Miles Turner left as a free agent, they'd be throwing up in arms saying, "Oh, you snake, you're not loyal." You know, people want players to be loyal to their team, but then they'll just roast them online, and then you wonder why the players sometimes leave. Obviously, they're not going to leave if the fans just don't like him, but it might come down to a decision. You know, KD mentioned part of his decision to leave Golden State was he didn't get along with Draymond Green. Like, a lot of factors go into players' mind when they're choosing to re-sign with the team or leave. And you think Miles Turner currently feels loved by the fan base? Hell no, he wouldn't. And it to be honest, it pisses me off that some fans are ruining it for the others. You mentioned, you know, he's deactivated his social media. You know, Alex, you've spoke to him on social media. You know, he retweets your work. It's fantastic that we get to have this, you know, players online and we interact with them. That's what we want as fans. Definitely international fans like the three of us are. You know, we don't get to see the players in person every day or every second game. We thrive on social media contact, and you know, now because some stupid fans have just grilled him, now we're the ones that miss out.
I mean, we could literally make an entire hour-long podcast about this, but I think it just comes down to, you know, some fans clearly, unfortunately, don't want all the players to succeed, it seems like. You know, I think there's a lot of fans that want players traded, and I know that happens, but for a guy as important to the team, and especially the defensive structure as Miles is, I just think that a lot of people need to take a good hard look at the games and actually watch watch what happens on the defensive end, watch Miles when he's off the ball, watch what he does, because, you know, he does so much more than what the stats show. And I think too many fans, we call them box score bandits here, but I think too many fans just look at the stats and go, oh, hang on a second, you know, he's had, 8 points, he's attempted 6 shots. This guy's terrible, you know, he's a role player or something. He's getting paid 20 million or 18 million. But you actually, if you watch the games, you know, against the Jazz, he was switched on bogey on the perimeter, clamped him up, got a stop, and he had 2 or 3 blocks again, 3 blocks that game. So, yeah, he does so much more than what the stats show, and I know KP knows that. I know Kevin Pritchard does. I know the front office does as well. So, hopefully, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, really. As long as the people on the team and around the team know what he does and how good he really is, the fan reactions don't really matter too much. Apart from the player, you know, obviously the player's morale and mental health is massive. So, hopefully, Miles, you know, if he does take time off social media, hopefully it helps him, and maybe it improves his game off the court, on the court. Sorry, but as long as he's right mentally, that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is we want to see him in a Pacers uniform for many years to come. We don't want him to go anywhere. We don't want him to be dramatically affected by this. If he's already affected by it, we want him to take time away and you know, get to a point where it doesn't concern him as much, and get that perspective of saying, you know, what do I care about some idiot on Twitter, you know, saying slanderous things about me? It doesn't matter. And to those people on Twitter that decide to take time out and say slanderous things about players, just have a think before you do it next time. Like, would your mum want to read that? Would your boss want to read that? You know, what would they think if they read your tweets about a player or about a situation that you were tweeting about? Like, would you send that same tweet to your grandmother? Would be my question. But then I'm willing to bet that 99% of the people that tweet those sorts of things wouldn't at any stage send a tweet like that to their boss or their grandmother.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And you did mention it slightly before, Adam, but I just need a minute to vent about this Nate McMillan stuff. I am sick to death of fans saying we should sack him. I think people have a short memory. He was 6th in the Coach of the Year last year. We just won 5 games in a row. There was no talk of it. Like, we're so undermanned. He's done a terrific job to get where we are, and everyone in like the NBA industry knows that. They rate Nate McMillan so highly. You hear other coaches speak highly of him. You hear players say he's a real players coach. Brogdon came in and said, you know, he's the guy I want to play for. These guys know more than the fans. I'm telling you. So I'm sick to death of, you know, all right, sack Nate McMillan. All right, who do you want? There's no Greg Popovich or Brad Stevens just waiting to be hired. Like, Nate McMillan is a good coach. Yeah, he probably can improve on some certain things. I know everyone's got things they need to improve on, but just this common theme every time Pacers lose a game is, we need to sack Nate McMillan. Nate McMillan didn't turn the ball over in the last 10 seconds. Nate McMillan wasn't on the court and should have fouled Ben Simmons when he was driving to the hoop with 10 seconds left. You know, he can only do so much. Yeah, he could probably draw up a few better players, but players got to take onus as well.
And, you know, you want to go to take a step back and look at the NBA from a macro level. You mentioned 2 coaches there, Greg Popovich and Brad Stevens. How many NBA finals have Brad Stevens reached in his coaching career?
0.
When's the last time Greg Popovich won a championship? It's been 5 seasons now. So, you know,
and he had a pretty good team as well.
Yeah, had a pretty decent team. You know, over the last 10 years, to get to the finals, you either needed to have 3 All-Stars on your team or LeBron James, basically.
Yeah, and people are calling Steve Kerr to be sacked this year. Just over the year, he's just become a terrible coach, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's got
doesn't have any
a
runs on the board,
cheerleader.
Steve, either.
Yeah, it's, you know, it comes down to your players. If Nate McMillan had LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you know, perfect scenario. People hated on Frank Vogel when he was a Pacers coach near the end. Oh, his offense is terrible. We need to sack him. He's coaching the Lakers to one of their best ever starts in franchise history now. Yeah.
Because he's got 2 of the top 5 players in the world.
Exactly right. It's a players' league.
And also, he's a good coach.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a players' league. The coach can help, but I just want to bring that up. I'm sick to death of the Nate McMillan. Hey, I'm not even his biggest fan. To be honest, I sit on the fence about him. I think he's good. I'm not in love with him or anything like that. I just think the slander he cops. He was 6th in the year and coach of the year last year. I always bring that up. It's like, what do you expect from him? A 1-game losing streak. No, he doesn't deserve to be sacked. We're in the top 8 right now without
Victor Oladipo. Yeah.
Yeah. By all means, have an opinion, right? Like, if you think that Miles Turner should be taking more shots, if you think that there should be more plays run to get him open from 3, if you think that there should be, more plays run to get away from the pick and roll so that he's an open shooter as opposed to, rolling to the basket when he's not as physical a player, that is a completely legitimate opinion to have. Yeah. Absolutely. Go for it. But when you then go into, this is the reason why we should fire a coach that's, essentially got a winning record with this team over the last few seasons. It just seems to be extremely short-sighted. Like, prior to yesterday, we were on an incredible run of wins. And, we talked about in the last episode, we previewed the Utah game and the Atlanta game. We said that the Utah game could be a statement win. It was brilliant. The Atlanta game was, a tough victory, an overtime victory. And we lost to, one of the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference on the second night of a back-to-back when we played an overtime game the day before. And we lost by 3 points. So, if we were on a 10-game slide, if we're on a 15-game slide, if we were all of a sudden in the last 3 seeds in the East and we were no chance of making the playoffs, I can understand some heat coming Nate's way. It always tends to come to the coach first. But we're not. We're in the playoffs if the season ended today. We've picked up that 0-3 start to win 6 of the next 7 games. We've beaten a team like Utah that was supposed to be contending for the Western Conference this season. I just don't understand the constant hate for this guy. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm obviously today's game against Philadelphia was very frustrating. Obviously, we felt, we could have won the situation we were in with a minute left. We probably should have won the game. But I am just seeing nonstop hate. It's like we lost to Memphis with Jay Crowder playing by himself on the court. Like we come off a back-to-back overtime game playing at Philadelphia. They're pegged to maybe go to the
undefeated at home as well.
Undefeated at home, pegged to possibly go to the NBA Finals. And we're playing without Victor Oladipo, and we take them. We should have won. Like, how does that not excite you as a Pacer fan? Going, oh my god, we just nearly beat the best team in the Eastern Conference on their home floor, where they're undefeated on a back-to-back after an overtime game without our best player. How does that not excite you?
Just you saying it then got me excited. Actually, I actually want a playoff series before. I saw some Pacers fans mentioning it actually today. That how good would a playoff series be between Philly and the Pacers when both teams are fully healthy?
And come back to Miles Turner for a second. I've just got to get this out there because it's been frustrating me over the last few hours since these tweets have come out. Let's look at his performances. He had a really good performance against Atlanta. That was bookended by a subpar performance against Utah. He had 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks. Who was his opposite number there? The Defensive Player of the Year. Okay, so he struggled against the Defensive Player of the Year. Pretty sure quite a few centers do that. Today, 3 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 5 fouls. Who was his opposite number? Joel Embiid. Who struggles against Joel Embiid? Pretty much everyone. So,
every single
you're talking about a guy that struggled against 2 of the best players at his position in the league. Joel Embiid the other day had a game with 0 points. So you can't tell me that all these guys don't go through tough periods and don't have bad games. And when they come up against, big physical centers, we've always said that Miles is a more slight guy. He's a help defender. He does tend to struggle a little bit more against the big physical players. It's just a fact of the last 4 years of his career. So he struggled against a really big physical center like Gobert, a really big physical center like Embiid. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, and it shouldn't cause us to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that we're going to trade Miles Turner. It's ridiculous. It's out of control.
Yeah, you couldn't have summed it up better. I think people forget the opposition they go against, and you're playing against two of the best big men in the world. Like, he's not going to get a 20-20 on him. He struggles against Drummond. Miles Turner always struggles against Embiid. It just is what it is. Like, if you follow the Pacers like very closely, you're going to know Miles isn't probably going to have a great game against Embiid. Like. Like you said, not many people do. I can't believe the hate he's getting. I'm over it, to be honest. I hope Miles is all good. Like you said, Alex, his mental health is priority A, B, and C. And this is a time where I'm really happy that Victor Oladipo is on the Pacers roster, because we all know what he did the other year when he went to Miles' house at 3 a.m. and spoke to him, and then Miles came out and had one of his best games of his career the next game, having a positive leader. Victor's going to be in his ear. You think, like, Oladipo hasn't seen his socials being deleted. I could nearly book a phone call from Oladipo to Turner tonight. I reckon, he'll get in his ear, make sure he's positive. And
that's what a leader does.
Yeah, that's what a leader does. And that's why, as a Pacer fan, you should love Oladipo.
Well, let's get away from the negativity for a second and let's talk about the wins, because, we said it in the last show. The Utah game was a really good opportunity to have a statement victory. The Atlanta game was an opportunity to win a game that we should win based on their record versus ours, and we won both games. Alex, what stuck out to you from the wins?
Well, first of all, from the Utah game, the big one to me was, containing Rudy Gobert in the paint, and I think we did a fantastic job there. He 5 from 9 from the field. Didn't really have much of an impact, though. He was in foul trouble for most of it. And I also think Brogdon did a fantastic job on Mike Conley. He was really good in that one for me. But going over to that Atlanta game, I just want to give a shout out to my guy. This is my man, Justin Holiday. I'm telling you, I remember Fox Sports Indiana put up a graphic. I think it might have been in the Utah game. I don't know. You guys will know. But I think he's holding his opponents to like 30%, which is, if I'm not mistaken, if not the best in the league, top 3 in the league. So he has been an absolute animal defensively, and he had 6 steals off the bench, which is just absolutely insane. And I think it was the second most any bench players ever had in Pacers history. So, yeah, the defense was definitely a key for that one. Trae Young, that dude is an absolute animal. He's just a stud. And, that was just a good all-round effort. Miles Turner was fantastic in that one. And Jeremy Lamb, how good has he been on offensive end? Him and TJ Warren have just been light years better than I thought they would be on both ends of the floor.
Better than advertised, incredible. Which we couldn't have never picked.
No, and for the deals as well. I mean, I think it was Alex Golden put out a tweet today, and I don't want to hate on Tobias Harris. I'm sure he's a good dude and all, but he's getting paid $36 million, yeah? Jeremy Lamb and TJ Warren are getting paid, what, about 20 combined? And they're putting up both better numbers than Tobias Harris. So, not to have a knock on Harris there, but I think even Middleton as well. That's 2 max guys that these guys are putting up, the exact same numbers. So they're
Harris is a good player. Harris is a good player. Get your money.
He was a borderline all-star.
Yeah.
But Lamb and Warren, I would argue they're 2 of the most underpaid players in the league right now. The way they're performing, I think they're both at around 17, 18 points, which is absolutely fantastic.
And Alex, that is what Kevin Pritchard bases his model on, getting guys who want to prove themselves, not giving them ridiculous contracts. He wants players, like, it's literally in his DNA to get players who maybe are a bit underpaid and want something to prove. TJ Warren has something to prove. Jeremy Lamb has something to prove. Brogdon. These are the players Pacers want to get in their team. And I think I looked at the Atlanta box score, and not one starter scored less than 16 points. I don't reckon you could nearly go on any other team in the league and have that sort of spread. And that's what I was mentioning before about, we're not going to have a player scoring 35, 40 a night. It's all going to be an even spread, and it's harder to defend that way because you don't know who's going to go off. And I'm in the same boat as you guys. TJ Warren today against Philadelphia was magnificent.
He was incredible.
He's a hooper. I was ready to put out a tweet about him if we ended up winning the game, but
he almost carried us to victory himself.
Yeah. Phoenix Suns were going to get added, so I'll save that one for another day. But yeah, he's been fantastic, and like I said, obviously we're all a bit upset the result of the Philadelphia game. But me and Alex, we said we'd go 1-1 against Utah and Atlanta. Adam, you said 2-0, which is fantastic. You're right, but I think we could all probably
being right, guys.
Yeah, we could all probably agree on if we said Utah, Atlanta, and Philly, and if someone said, "Would you take 2 and 1?" I'm pretty sure all three of us would say
For
yes.
sure.
every day of the week.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, leading us into the next part of the schedule, we've played, two teams over the last week with not just winning records, with, really good records in Utah and Philly. We're about to go into a stretch of the schedule where we play some more teams that don't have great records, which is a really good opportunity for, a guy like Miles Turner to get some confidence back against a team like Memphis, which we're coming up against next, that doesn't have that top line center. We play OKC, we play Detroit, the last game of the season series against Detroit, an opportunity to go 2-2 against them. So big opportunity to prove ourselves against Andre Drummond and try and restrict him. And then we rounded out.
We played Detroit again, do we?
Yeah, we played Detroit again.
I
swear we played them 20 times.
First 6 weeks of the season, we've played them 4 times. It's pretty remarkable. And we wrap it up at Madison Square Garden against the hapless New York Knicks. So we're hoping to obviously get a win there. And then afterwards, we've got a 2-game homestand, which is an extremely tough stretch against the Clippers, and then followed by the return of Paul George and the Clippers, and then Boston. So LA and Boston on the 10th and the 12th of December, Australia time. But the next 4 games, Memphis, OKC, Detroit, and New York, they're the all away on the road, and a really good opportunity to get some quality victories against some struggling teams and pad that record up to 15-8 or 16-7, which is where it should be, and before going into a tougher stretch throughout the middle of the month where we play both LA teams.
Yeah, I remember we were speaking last week, and we did flag Utah as hopefully that can be our first, big win of the season. And I've learned more about this team in the last 2-3 days than I probably have all season. I think everyone's got to call off, take a step back from that Philly loss and actually look at the big picture of the season and the team and go, wow, all right, we just beat Utah. We should have beaten Philly on their home floor. Like, this team's good. I am way more confident in saying the Pacers are a legit team in the Eastern Conference now than I was a week ago. With our best win being against Brooklyn, now you take a step back. Even I see some national media guys today, they just realized, this Pacers team is going to be scary good when Oladipo comes back.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of tweets like that today.
Yeah, I think that, Adam, you mentioned those 2 games, the Clippers and the Celtics. I'm telling you right now, if they win both those games, there's going to be, for the first time in probably over 12 months since Oladipo's injury, that'll be the first time the Pacers make it onto national media the day after or ESPN or something like that.
Might get a Bleacher Report tweet.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, we don't have LeBron.
I think there was about three or four Trae Young tweets yesterday, even though the Pacers won. So that pretty much sums it up. But
is it Bleacher Report or is it the Alex Caruso report?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Did you see the Bleacher Report worker? This is a bit off topic, but he said that
he was trying to
justify. He was trying to justify the Bleacher Report's tweeting about Caruso, and he was saying that Caruso, what he's done this season has been more noteworthy than guys like Siakam.
And he misspelled his name.
That's an actual guy working for Bleacher Report. I just thought that was funny, but. Yeah, going back to the Pacers, I think these 4 games on the road, you have a really good chance to go 4-0 here. And before those 2 massive games, you really can't afford to drop any of these ones.
What are the 4 road games? Which game are you most concerned about, Justin, out of Memphis, OKC, Detroit, and New York? Detroit's probably the obvious one. Is that the one you're probably most concerned about?
Yeah, Detroit would be the obvious one. When you say OKC, I always stress out, but that's probably just because the past have always been good and always tough to win in OKC because they're fans. But obviously with a brand new roster, that should be fine there. I'd say Detroit is the main one. I could even make a case for Grizzlies. They played us tough in Indiana.
No Ja Morant.
No Ja Morant though.
Yeah. Well, obviously that makes a big difference. But it's the NBA. Like as Pacer fans, there might be a Memphis Grizzlies podcast and they're saying, oh, we should beat the Pacers because they got no Oladipo. It's just what way you look at it. And, the casual fan should expect to beat the Pacers. You know, they don't probably know how good the Pacers are, and coming from a casual fan, our best players out as well. So teams are confident. You know, anyone can beat anyone in this league. Like, I watch so many games throughout the day, and even if they don't win, like, you know, Orlando were up big on Toronto, like Chicago, like they're
Grizzlies
up on
almost
team.
beat the Clippers. Grizzlies
Exactly
almost beat the
right.
Clippers the other day.
Like,
So yeah,
Golden State nearly beat OKC with like 6 players. Like, there's very talented players in this league, and you know, people are fighting for contracts, people are fighting for their jobs. Like, you can't just book in a win. So definitely on the road as well. Like, any road win's a good win.
All right, I've got a really tough question for you guys. Okay, this is the situation. You either beat New York in Madison Square Garden and lose to Boston at home, or you lose to Boston, you lose to New York in Madison Square Garden and you beat Boston. What would you take?
Beat Boston.
beat Boston. Yeah,
You take the loss to New York in New York?
in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about beating that better team. I know it'd be shitty to lose against New York, and I know how much you hate the Knicks, Adam, but yeah, look, I'm all about
Not going to be able to do it, as Jalen Rose would say.
it's better for the standings as well, having that one game up on the Celtics. But good question. But yeah, I'd definitely rather beat Celtics.
All right. Another question. Would you rather beat the Clippers or beat Boston out of those 2 games?
Boston,
Clippers.
because we're gonna.
Ooh.
Yeah, actually, fair call. But I'd say Boston just because there's a more chance we're going to meet them in the playoffs. But yeah, and also head-to-heads matter in, you know, coming playoff seeding. But yeah, Clippers are arguably the best team in the league, so that would probably be the bigger team to beat. I'm just going to go Boston though, just for the sake of beating
Clippers,
Celtics.
Adam, I thought of Paul George, and
Yep.
I would love to beat him. Yeah, I know he'll really want to play well against the Pacers, so he's probably circled that game on his calendar. It's pity Oladipo's not playing, but yeah,
Especially at the Fieldhouse.
Yeah, I'd love to beat Clippers, and yeah, I can't wait. That'll be a fantastic game. We've got some really good games coming up, but yeah, like I said, I'm more confident in this team than I have been probably all year now.
Another question I saw pop up online, which I answered earlier today, was what was the first jersey you ever owned? Alex, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I answered this one as well. I think it was the white pinstripe jersey. It was a Danny Granger one.
Nice.
Yeah, I got it like the first year I became a Pacers fan. So that's a little bit of a throwback there.
Justin?
Mine was an aqua blue Carmelo Anthony Nuggets jersey, and trust me, I'm not a bandwagon fan. It's because no Pacer jerseys ever entered Australia, and I had to play basketball for a social team, which was a blue. But yeah, my first Pacers one, I'm pretty sure was a Jermaine O'Neal pinstripe one. So yeah, it cost me about $380 with the exchange rate in Australia and shipping. Pretty sure my mum went
cheap back then.
Yeah, it's $380 for a jersey that fit me for about 6 months. So money well spent.
Yeah.
How about you?
I went on eBay and I got myself a 4XL Reggie Miller 1987-88 rookie jersey. And yeah, it was a little bigger than I was hoping for at that stage. I didn't realize it was 4XL because they had the numbers on the sizes as opposed to the to the X's. So I screwed that right up, and when it arrived, it went down past my knees. So I didn't wear it much, but it was a cool jersey.
Yeah, nice. Well,
nice.
Yeah, like the Paceroos obviously put out a photo not long ago with Oladipo actually making his way into Foot Locker Australia. So it's good if there's any Pacer fans in Australia. You can easily get a jersey and you won't know the struggles that all us old fans had to deal with.
Yeah, really good to see some Pacers gear coming in. There's a couple of stores around Melbourne. There's a Kicks 101 that's in both Melbourne and Perth. I think every sort of major city in Australia tends to have one sort of basketball related store that sells a bunch of merch. So it's really good to see some Pacers merch, albeit not very much. But with the actually, I'll finish on another question. I want to run a question, so I may as well ask another one. Statement jersey or city jersey?
I'm going to go. I've got my statement Brogdon on right
Yeah,
now
you got
as
your
we're
Brogdon.
recording this. So I'm going to go statement jersey. Although I do absolutely love the City ones. I'm going to go statement.
Yeah, I like them both. It's probably rare I like new jerseys coming in. Sometimes I'm a bit like, oh, the designs are a bit out there and a bit different, but I like them both. They look great on the court, and yeah, I like them both.
I also like them both. I'll be getting them both. So you're sitting right on the fence for that, Justin.
Yeah, I am. Sorry, I've had bigger things to think about today than what jerseys I like.
Fair enough. No, I'm always a fan of our gold jersey, so I think I'd give the edge to the statement jersey. But our City jersey is probably the best white jersey we've had since the pinstripe, in my view. It's
I would agree.
High quality, and I love the use of royal blue. Obviously, that was a big staple in the 80s, so I'd love to see a little bit more royal blue come back into it, because the royal blue and gold tends to really pop when used the right way. So I'm not obviously...
On the jerseys real quick as well, I know the Hickory ones are expiring. The contract for the Hickory ones do expire after the season. So, yeah, if you could choose one throwback, other than the Flojo, because I know you guys probably I would choose a Flojo as well, but other than the Flojo, what one throwback would you bring back for next season?
Pinstripes for me.
Pinstripes, yeah, pinstripes.
Yeah.
Which, if you had to pick one, the white, the blue, or the gold, what pinstripe would you choose?
That is tough, actually.
Yeah, I usually like navy ones better, but I love them white home ones. I'm pretty sure I got a throwback Granger one, and I love it. I'd kill for an Oladipo one like that.
Yeah, the white pinstripe was really, really good. All right, well, I think that's enough questions for one day, and we've managed to rescue the podcast from a pretty serious and pretty negative sort of a start with the Miles Turner stuff, but I'm glad we were able to get it all out there, and hope you enjoyed listening to it. We will come back to you after a couple more games are played. I'd say after the OKC game, we'll record another episode for you. Any final thoughts, Alex?
Just take it easy on social media posts. I think just respect the players on the team, wish them well, hope they all do well, and everything will work out for you. Don't worry about it.
Justin?
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. We want to be a fan base that, players love. Even when they leave the team, they want to go, oh, God, when I was a Pacer, I got treated so well. That's what you want to be known for, and I think we all need to just take a step back, take a deep breath as well, and just go, hey, this team's performing well. Even if the players don't, have a tough game, let's just relax and let them live their life.
Well, if you get that rush of testosterone that makes you want to tweet something really negative at a player, maybe just do 10 push-ups or something. Channel that energy into something a little bit more positive.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Thanks for indulging us with that in-depth professional conversation about social media bullying. But we'll see you next time on the Paceroos Podcast. Thanks for listening.